And welcome everyone to another episode of Inside CKP. I'm your host, Jeremy Kumo. That is enough about me. Here is my buddy, Casey Moores. It's been a while since you've been on. Welcome back. Um, and we are here to celebrate yet another release from this fine author. Gotta admit, nope, wrong way. I love this cover. It is pretty freaking sweet. We're going to talk about that.
Oh yeah.
But I was happy about doing this interview from jump when I saw the book cover because the artwork that comes out of CKP is pretty freaking sweet.
Oh yeah.
So before we get started, tell everybody where they can find you online. Promote anything you want to promote, and we're gonna get that out of the way so people know where they can find you.
Okay. Well, you can find my website, www.caseymoores.net. You can find me on Facebook as Casey Moores or Casey Moores Writer. Make sure you don't drop the S. A lot of different things try to drop the S, especially Amazon. If you type in Casey Moores, Amazon will ask if you meant Casey Moore, and you did not. You meant Moores with an S. Just want to emphasize that. But you can also find me on Instagram as Casey Moops. There's a story there that was basically my call sign when I was in the Air Force was Moops. And if you're going to be at LibertyCon, you can find me at LibertyCon. If you're anywhere in Albuquerque, you can actually see me at the Barnes & Noble on June 29th for a book signing. And then I'll be at a few other things the rest of the year. But if you go to my website or if you sign up for my newsletter, you can keep track of where I'm going to be.
Awesome. All right. Well, last time you were on the show, you alluded, you were being real secretive about it, and you alluded to the fact that you had a big project coming up with a big deal author, and I'm assuming this is it.
Yes. Yeah. Bill Fawcett has written histories. He's written a few fictional series, but he's mostly been one of those guys behind the scenes in the sci-fi fantasy world for a long time. If you even read his own bio, he basically played Dungeons and Dragons on photocopied sheets. These friends made a game and said, "Hey, do you want to try this out for us?" That's who he is. So yeah, that was the big name. Just continuing to that story, essentially 2 LibertyCons ago, he walked up to our publisher, Chris Kennedy, and handed him a thumb drive, said, "Hey, I wrote this thing, and it's a series. If you like it, I don't want to write the rest of it, so find somebody else to help me write the rest of it." Just looked at it, said he liked it, and turned around and said, "Have you met Casey?" He's been trying to get me something for a while. He's been trying to nudge me into developing my own thing, and I think the things that I wanted to develop weren't in the direction of the fan base that I've been building. And so this was actually perfect for me. I fell in love with Never Again, the first novel that released a month ago, and jumped right onto it. It's kind of been a different kind of project, but yeah, that was definitely the secretive project I was trying to talk about. I didn't really want to say too much about it until I was confident that I had at least written something that Bill liked. And so when I first was offered this project, when we started talking with Bill, like I said, I had to read that novel, come up with a plan, but I was also still finishing Companion to Darkness. Actually, I think I'd still, I was just in the midst of finishing up. No, I had just finished Gilded Cage, and I was barely working on Companion to Darkness. And so that both of those took me a little bit more time. It was months later before I finally started this. And then both books that I wrote, 2 and 3, No Fail and No Further, each took me 8 months apiece. So it's been a journey. Wow. There's been a lot more research involved because I'm trying to get a lot of the military equipment, the terminology, the locations, the politics, the geopolitics of the area, the culture of the Kurds. I'm trying to get all of those things right. I know I'm just sort of info dumping right now, but
no, go for it.
Big picture, it took a lot. Somebody was just passing around a meme where somebody was saying, like, he sat at his, and then they start researching wood, like ancient oaks, for 6 hours to get mahogany as the type of desk. That's how I felt writing just about every sentence of both No Fail and No Further. I'd be writing a sentence out and I'd be like, oh, what kind of weapon should I use here? What millimeter machine gun makes sense? And I don't know what kind of tank is rolling up and what angle do they have to go at to destroy it, because I don't know these things. I'm an Air Force guy. So yeah, it's been a journey, but we figured once we had 3 books written, and then right now Melissa Olthoff and I are wrapping up the 4th book, Forlorn Hope, that centers all around character Nisty Khan, who is very predominant in this novel as well, in one of the 3 branches. So we're wrapping that one up. No Further comes out next month, and hopefully Forlorn Hope will come out about 6-ish, I think, weeks or so after that.
Oh, so, wow, man, y'all just running and gunning, huh?
Yeah.
Well, so what was it like to? I mean, I know you were excited, but what was it like to get picked for a project? Because this just came out of the blue, or
yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm honored that Chris thought of me. I know that he, like you said, he's been very supportive, very helpful. He's been telling me that he's been liking some of the stuff I've been giving him, but like you said, he's also been trying to. And that's one of the things that he does, is he always tries to encourage everybody to come up with their own thing. I was writing in the 4 Horsemen universe largely, but that was something created by Mark Wandry, and then Chris Kennedy and Mark Wandry made a series of it, and then they pulled in a few more core authors. And I'd say, I think I have to do a count now. I think 5 of my novels in the 4 Horsemen universe, and a lot of more short stories. I did a short story for This Fallen World, and then I wrote a novel for This Fallen World. For the Reed Ravens Publishing, I put out a JTF 13 novel, Witch Hunt, and a short story. But that was, again, a universe that had been created that I was stepping into. So I had another, outside of sort of military fantasy short stories that I've been pushing out 1 or 2 at a time, averaging 1 a year into different anthologies. I haven't really developed my own thing or universe that I was developing, mostly because I was spending all my time on all these other projects, writing in other people's worlds. Finally, Chris has been trying to, like I said, encourage me to step away from that and develop something. Even though Bill Fawcett created this, going forward, I'm making it my own more and more. At least I'm definitely become an intricate and a very involved part of it. So it is not a shared universe of 25 authors. It's Bill Fawcett and I, and then the next one will be Melissa and I.
Awesome.
So, and bottom line to your question, I'm very honored that Chris thought of me in the first place, and I'm honored that Bill liked my writing and was happy to move forward with me.
That's pretty cool, man. Just for somebody for especially somebody as accomplished as Fawcett is, to say, "Oh yeah, I like this guy. We can work with him." That's got to be pretty cool. Well, we've got the usual characters in the chat here. Old Steverson. Hey Nick, how you doing, man? Let's see.
Oh, Yvonne, I'm sorry. Wait, did I mention that book 4 is written with Melissa Olthoff? So.
Yeah, she puts romance into everything.
We actually had some very specific instructions from Bill on that one. I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. So speaking of, let's talk a little bit more about you. Since you brought up Melissa, y'all know each other from your service time.
Yeah. We met when we were both stationed at Moody. When Cassie, my wife, and I were there working in rescue, and then she was there for a while before she went off to be a traffic controller, and she kind of just sort of became our group. At the time, she was the girl with the dragon tattoo in our group, and then she started going to Dragon Con with us, and then we kept in touch. She was one of our bridesmaids. And yeah, we just sort of kept in touch through the years. And then here's the funny thing. She's sort of my pay it forward. She's my pay it forward writer, as I say. Girl Casey is very good at getting people into writing. Casey Azell, girl Casey, boy Casey. She'll say, "Hey, you want to do this thing with me?" And then maybe we can write a thing, and then now you're writing, and it's like it's the snowball effect. And I was just writing a short story, and now I'm writing novels, and yeah.
Yeah, you've come pretty far pretty quick.
Yeah, but then early on, I was looking for somebody sort of outside of all these author writer circles, because mostly I was kind of overwhelmed, a little bit intimidated, and definitely had a whole lot of imposter syndrome going on. So I was trying to find some of my friends out there that were, sci-fi fantasy fans. And I started reaching out to them and saying, hey, can you read this thing I wrote? Is it horrible or whatever? And they were sort of my alpha readers before I would clean it up and send it to somebody who was a little bit more a part of the industry, just as a first hack. And then Melissa sent me something she had written. And almost immediately after that, I absolutely loved it. And then I told her that she needed to start submitting some stories to things that CKP and some other publishers were making call outs for. And then everything spiraled for her as well. And now I think she's actually caught up to me on novels, to be honest, but she's blowing past me pretty quickly.
Yeah, they were going fast and furious there for a while, and they're not stopping.
Especially since it took me 16 months to write these last 2 books.
That's crazy. So let's talk about that. So like we just established you're no noob. You've been writing, you're former military, you flew in the Air Force. You're a big history buff, right?
Yeah, my dad raised me on military history. I've always had an interest in it. I'm definitely not as versed as some of the people in our circles. I couldn't tell you, I don't know. I know some of the big moments of history. I know some of the big characters of history. I know a good deal about the Civil War and World War II and things like that. And obviously World War I as well. I'm always researching more and more in different places. But yes, I am. I wouldn't call myself a buff, but I'm definitely maybe a military history enthusiast. Water it down a little bit.
Yeah. Oh wait, here Chris is chiming in. So Kevin Eikenberry also recommended. That's cool. That's a great thing about this group of writers.
Eikenberry was actually one of my earlier mentors when I stepped into it, when I started writing for the Four Horsemen. I'll be honest, my very first short story that actually wound up getting shelved for a few years, and then it became the core of my part in as my witnesses. But I reached out to Kevin early on, asking if he could give it a look over and see if he could help me Four Horsemen it up a little bit, I guess, and maybe give me some advice. And he sort of took me in his Kevin Eikenberry mentorship way, and it really helped me out for the first 1.5 years of my career. He was the one that told me to write these things we do. I thought I was going to be talking. We had a meeting at Dragon Con, and I thought we were going to be discussing a short story I was writing for him for Set the Terms. And instead, he said, these are all the plans you have for this character bull you've created. And here's the novel that you're going to write about him, basically based on everything you just told me. I was like, oh, I guess I'm doing that now. Okay.
Yeah, it's a big group of bullies, but in the right way. They're going to shove you in the right direction.
Oh
yeah. Speaking of, you talked earlier about doing research for this book, or these 2 books. Now, where are you going to find the stuff? What exactly are you researching to come up with these books? Because 8 months, that's a long time to put into writing books. But if the research, I'd be interested into what you're reading about.
A lot of internet searches, to be honest, but I've also reached out to some friends of mine. There's a wide range of people. I got a buddy that I talked to about who actually works on night vision goggles and night operating devices and imaging systems, and I reached out to him, asking him some of the details and some of the specs and how to make it realistic for the sensory that the GOGs, the general ordnance garment suits, see through their face plates, and how they can transition some of those sensors. I've had some experience with those in the Air Force. We have IR sensor, we have night vision goggles. I'm also thinking back to things like Predator, where you have the scenes of them flipping through different spectrums. And so I reached out to see and I also know that there are overlays on some different systems and some HUD systems, some heads-up display systems. So I reached out to him to talk about that. I got a few medic friends. I talked to Rob Hampson about some medical things. I talked to Doc Wolrab about modifications. Like a pararescue friend of mine to talk about some of those same things. One of the characters in this novel, Chazi Shenaderi, is one of the GOG medics. I introduced the concept of GOGs having a medic core and also a technician core, but I don't really get into that too much. But, for some of the details, some of the modifications they would want to make to their suit and some of the ways that they would be practicing their craft while wearing these big, heavy combat suits. Talked to, Mike Massa about tactics and things and different ways of, say, breaching entryways and things like that. I'll say that he's the one that gave me the thermic lances that they used to cut into some vaults. Spoiler alert, sorry. So there was a lot of friends that I reached out to for a lot of different things. I also talked to somebody, about actual satellite imagery and what they could be seeing and things like that. Sorry, I'm sort of spiraling here, but I talked to a whole lot of different knowledgeable sources, subject matter experts, or SMEs, as we say in the Air Force. And then, like I said, a whole lot of internet searches. I kept the tab of the list of equipment of the Iranian army open all the time. I also had a tab for a list of Kurdish last names and a list of Iranian last names. So I could just pull up. I can only use Mohammadi so many different times.
Right.
Right. So, and then I also had Google Earth. I had to Google Earth up constantly, and I don't always name the places. I started to a little bit more and more as everything developed, but I wanted to identify the most likely places where some of these things would happen. And I actually mapped out the infiltration routes that these 3 different teams would use to identify exactly where something exciting could happen, where I could put in some sort of adversity or some combat action scene or whatever. Here's a funny one that I shouldn't admit to, but it was good training and the student learned a lot from it. But I am in my real life job a pilot instructor, a special ops and rescue pilot instructor. And I was teaching an instructor upgrade student, meaning they are learning to be an instructor and they are supposed to be giving me ground training on a certain thing. And I walked in one day trying to plan one of these scenes, and I told him that whatever he had planned, he could use next time. Today, we were going to talk about high altitude, high opening. And I gave him, if say that you have a person that weighs this much, a whole lot, because they have a lot of equipment, doing a high altitude insertion from, say, this Victor airway over this country, and they're trying to get to this destination. Talk me through all the planning aspects of it, our air commander, what you would be teaching a student as to the things that they need to consider, oxygen requirements and all the nerdy K factors and parachute drive capability and activation altitudes and drift, all those things. And so he took me through how our aircraft, not the aircraft that I'm using in the novel, but, he gave me instruction on that and essentially helped me plan out some of the details of that scene. So I stole a SME for that one, but it was well used and he got some good training out of it. And
yeah. Dual purpose. It's fun.
Dual purpose.
So as you can see, everyone, for the people watching this in the future and now, he kind of knows what he's talking about, and he got some good. For the uninitiated, Mike Massa is a former Navy SEAL and all that. So you went to the mat for your information, man. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And speaking of the usual comment here, when you become a victim of your own success, if you write a good novel, they expect more from you. So here you go.
Well, I've written 3. I think that's technically a trilogy, except it's adding on to another one, so it's a quadrilogy so far.
Yeah.
Probably going to take a little bit of a break once we're done with book 4. But this series will definitely continue. We definitely have very long range plans for how this will develop.
So no definite number, but you're going to keep going.
No definite number, but we're definitely going to keep going.
Yeah. So before we get into the talking about the book, let's talk about we're going to do a reading tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I say we. You're going to do a reading tonight because I don't read it. And we're going to do a giveaway. We're going to do the giveaway after the reading to give people a chance. And the way we're going to choose the winner for the giveaway, which is going to be a signed copy of the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right. Signed copy of the book, and if they're willing to wait until after LibertyCon, it will be signed by both Bill Fawcett and I.
All right.
He doesn't
so
know that. He will.
It's gonna, and I'm gonna be the bad guy on this one. So you have to cater to me, and you know I like a good smart ass. So best comment, best question, smart aleck comment. I know Steverson's already warming up his fingers. Gets the free book. But before we do that, we're gonna wait. Yeah. Yvonne's my sister from Louisiana, so not my actual sister, my chosen sister. And in fact, when I talk about her, my accent gets thicker. So, so yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do a reading. We're gonna talk about the books first, but we're gonna do a reading, and then after the reading, we'll choose the winner. And if you're a good boy or girl, you'll get it signed by both authors. All right. So let's talk about the first book leading into No Fail. So what would be your elevator pitch for the first book to bring people in?
You mean for this book or for Never Again?
For Never Again.
For Never Again.
And then we'll go into this one.
The elevator pitch for Never Again is that the Kurds have attained their own republic for the first extended period of time in history, but they are surrounded by enemies. Every nation around them wishes they didn't exist and is planning to do something about it. The Iranians move in full force, but luckily, a billionaire benefactor has gifted them with a canceled DARPA project and started mass producing an advanced combat suit that was rejected by the United States because of battery life power, but he solved that problem, and now he is producing them for the Kurds. They, in the first book, with Peshmerga tenacity and ample use of these combat suits, they narrowly are able to defeat the Iranian invasion, and a little bit of deceit, or actually a whole lot of deceit, but send the Iranians packing. Now, actually, that's not the pitch because I gave away the entire story, but I'm actually trying to prep the battlefield for you for No Fail. Mm-hmm. Mind if I just roll on into that one?
Go for it.
All righty. So, General Reza Davoud, who was the architect of the original Iranian invasion of the Kurdish Republic, has pushed off responsibility onto a wide range of other unsuspecting generals, and he has maintained his position, and now he is hoping to try again to eradicate the Kurdish Republic, this time by putting his son in charge of the nuclear weapons that the Iranians are not supposed to have. A contact inside the Iranian higher echelons brings this to the awareness of the Kurdish Republic, who decide that the only way they're on a very short timeline, so they have to launch 3 deep strikes to the 3 different locations where these weapons are stored. And as we say on the video that you saw and everything that we've written, blurb-wise or back cover copy-wise, if any single one of those missions fails, the Kurdish Republic will no longer exist because it will become a nuclear wasteland.
So what made you pick? What made y'all pick that country to? And I'm assuming this is near future.
Near future. It's in Never Again. It quotes itself as being in year 9, essentially the 9th year of the existence of the Kurdish Republic, and then it rolls into year 10. And actually, so far, everything we've written remains in year 10. Mm-hmm. So it is nebulously in the future, far enough away, but close enough that a lot of the people a lot of the older serving members of the Kurdish military that we might have memories of fighting Daesh or ISIL in their youth, or some of them even talk about the time when Saddam was hunting them down through the mountains and bombing their cities. So it's at least 10 years away, but it's close enough that people have those memories of fairly recent events.
Yeah, so we're talking decades, not centuries.
Yeah. So very near enough that everything we put in there had to be largely real technology that was either in development or, in most cases, exists.
So plausible.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
The one thing that we stepped up was the battery power on the combat suits, and that was Roger Tang, the billionaire benefactor's great breakthrough that happened as the project was being canceled in the U.S.
So you mentioned the video that we introed into the episode with. Who I'm not going to take credit for that. I stole that. Casey gave it to me, and I just inputted it. Who made that video for y'all?
That was actually the book break. Melissa Dalton Martinez and thebookbreak.com. There's somebody that's been at Superstars several times. Well, I've been to Superstars twice, and they've been there both times. I think two Superstars last year, I won a 60-minute consult with her. I went to their panel this year at Superstars about about developing a book trailer. And then when I came away from that, I was like, that's a really good idea. We talked about pricing. I talked to Bill about it. And then we had a few meetings with them, or a few, Zoom meetings with them. But we basically worked out for a plan for them to develop trailers for the entire series.
Awesome.
Yep.
They look great.
Further, we'll see another one for Forlorn Hope. I think I'll to that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you letting me borrow it.
No worries.
And while we're giving credit, do we know the artists for the book covers?
Yes. I'm not looking. Hang on. It's on the tip of my tongue, and now I'm going to lose my spot. But it was. I am. J. Caleb Design, I believe. Yeah.
Awesome, because these are beautiful. I love these book covers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. These I love this one in particular. Like, I loved the Never Again, and then I saw this one, and I just I got chills. Captured it so perfectly, and yeah.
We were talking. Oh, Melissa's in the crowd now. We were talking bad about you earlier. Let's see. Lots of research rabbit holes with this series. Yes. Where's Oz? But rabbit holes are some. Yes, you are right. Rabbit holes can be fun. All right. We're kind of at the halfway mark here. So if you are amenable to it, let's go ahead and do the reading, and then we'll talk a little bit more after.
All righty. All right. So there are a few more readings and a few more early release sections out there, and I'm kind of moving a little bit farther into the novel for this one. So if you're catching up on some of the other things that we've released from this novel, this is a little bit more further in than most have been so far. Sharud University of Technology, Iran, 0545. Sirusk stepped to the edge of the shaft and peered down as Zondi led the other 6 GOG soldiers forward. Per the captain's plan, a single GOG soldier would leap down a flight of the metal staircase at a time, target anyone they saw, and provide cover until all other GOG soldiers had moved past. Smoke and flashbang grenades would be deployed periodically to obscure their assault. To counter the smoke, they would all use a UV IR low light vision blend so they could both see the structure of the staircase and identify the heat signatures of live targets. In this manner, they would rapidly descend into the depths of the munitions bunker until they reached the base. In theory, it was a decent tactical plan, and it was the fastest way to use the staircase to get down. It would still take too long. Surely there would be another vault door further down, and they were out of thermic lances. If the defenders got that door closed, he and the others would have a difficult, if not impossible, time getting it open again. Looking into the shaft, shadows flickered as the defenders shuffled about in panic. Metal clanged in an overlapping echo, both from the Iranian soldiers and from his fellow GOGs advancing to the stairwell. Every so often, a burst of light preceded an ineffective spray of bullets from below. The smell of propellant intruded on the otherwise pervasive, musky odor in the man-made cavern. After a momentary pause at the edge, Captain Zondi turned about and demonstrated the short, backward hop to the base of the next intersection. He staggered a touch on landing, but was still able to target something and fire a burst from his rifle. Under his cover, the next Gog in line moved down the stairs. As much as Sir Rusk wanted to be in the lead, and, failing that, second after the commander, taking up the tail end had a purpose. Captain Zondi had sent several mini-drones down the shaft before developing his plan. Though they'd all been shot down, they'd gotten a solid picture of the best defended spots and the number of stairwell sections to the bottom. Per the math, Sir Rusk was in the best position to both engage the better defended emplacements and to be the first to reach the bottom. Assuming he survived the descent, of course. If either of the two higher caliber weapons they'd spotted took him down along the way, it would be up to the captain to lead the assault on the landing. As the line of Gogs shuffled away, he took another look down. A collection of motorized pulleys was attached to the ceiling above, and thick chains dangled at least halfway down the stairwell. He presumed that was how they raised and lowered the nuclear weapons from the vault below. The vault which could easily be secured in the time it took them to fight their way down the stairs. If I'm to be the first down anyway. Hermie, how far did you fall that day? Sir Rusk asked. When there was no reply, Sir Rusk turned to look at his friend, who stared back at him through a cracked faceplate, confused. I know it is a difficult memory, my friend, but how far? Sir Rusk asked. Hermie's gaze drifted to the floor, and he shrugged. About 40 meters in total, though a rock broke my fall about halfway down. Why do you ask? Sir Rusk turned back toward the shaft and verified the depth one last time using the GOG sensors. Because this only goes down 25 meters. Without a second thought, Sir Rusk dropped both a smoke grenade and a flashbang over the edge, waited for a moment, and hopped forward to follow them into the shaft. He briefly clutched a loose hand around a chain to slow his descent just a little. When he was more than halfway down, he let go and let the suit land in a hard crouch. Remaining low, he spun until he identified targets, put a burst of fire through each of them, and looked for another. A door flew open beside him with such force it smacked into the wall, followed by screaming and gunfire from a group of Iranians storming toward him. With the IR low-light vision blend, they appeared as glowing orange figures with sharp green outlines. His faceplate dimmed briefly with every muzzle flash, but still provided more than enough detail for targeting. Instinctively, he threw a grenade over the back of the group and put several bursts through the nearest enemies. Bullets rattled up and down the front of his suit like a flurry of punches from a boxer. None caused too much pain as the suit's responsive armor froze up in patches. When the grenade went off, he rethought the wisdom of throwing an explosive in a closed environment. The blast wave sent him skidding backward a few feet, and a fair amount of shrapnel made it through his attackers, sending another series of taps all over his armor. A scream erupted from his left, followed by a hard spray of lead pouring into his left arm and hip. Through his side view displays, he caught a single Iranian soldier behind the steady flashes of gunfire. As every single tile of responsive armor on his left arm seized up, effectively immobilizing it, Cirrus braced against the barrage and angled as best he could to use that arm as a shield for the rest of his suit. In just a couple seconds, the automatic rifle clicked empty. Cirrus twisted fast and grabbed the soldier by the neck, gave a single hard squeeze, and crushed his spine. When Cirrus opened his hand, the body dropped and flopped to the floor. The brilliant flash of tracers preceded a deafening burst of high-caliber machine gun fire overhead. Even though the noise was dampened by the GOG helmet, it overpowered all other sounds and temporarily robbed him of the capacity to think. The resounding boom of a grenade silenced the weapon, followed by an eerie peace. A thick mist of dust permeated everything with the tiny, intricate swirls. He stalked forward and scanned the other bodies for signs of survivors. One struggled about, gasping for air and clutching at his chest until Sir Rusk put a bullet through his head. Scattered gunfire and the pop of explosives from above echoed and provided a backdrop to the steady, rhythmic clang of metal as the other Gogs cascaded down the stairs. Sergeant Sir Rusk, report, Captain Zondi called, making no attempt to hide his anger. Buried amid the cacophony of other sounds, he caught a faint whisper and the slightest tap of footfalls behind him. By the time he spun, a sliver of orange disappeared behind the vault door. He fired a burst to no effect and launched himself at the door. The suicidal gunman had been a distraction to allow the others time to get inside. He could only slap a hand against a corner of the door before it slid closed with a bang. He grabbed onto a handhold to jerk it back, but the locks were already engaged. Distant, Muffled shouts grew louder on the other side as the soldiers who'd just trapped themselves inside with a nuclear weapon argued about what to do next. Sir, they got the vault door closed. He paused to scan the rest of the lower level. No heat signatures, no signs of movement, nothing. The ones he'd killed on landing were slowly fading to light yellow and dull white. Lower level clear. That's all I got for now.
All right. I got the chills. The comments are going pretty good here. Here we've got a legitimate question, but we've also got some smart assery going on. You like saying shaft a lot? Yes, there's a lot of shaft. Let's see.
The thesaurus only got me so far on that one. I'm sorry.
And
I should have played the shaft.
He describes musky shaft twice. Good call. Let's see. You got me to laugh on that one. That was good. Hold on.
Eastwood.
All right. Well, here's a legitimate question. Do you find anything in your rabbit hole, Marisa? That is private. That is inappropriate. What a man does
in his rabbit hole.
Rabbit holes. Anyway.
Musky rabbit holes. Musky rabbit holes with shafts.
Did you find anything in your rabbit holing that surprised you or that made you evil laugh to get that you got to put it in the book?
God, that is a tough one. It's a great question, but such a, I'm gonna say, like, a lot of that is probably already leaked out the side of my head. The research that I did. Really cool things that I looked up that surprised me. Something that surprised me. I mean, I pulled up a lot of cool things for No Further, and I was actually kind of surprised by several different things that I learned about the actual state of advanced combat suits. Evil laugh. I definitely looked up a few higher caliber weapons that wound up going into No Further. The thermic lances was really cool. I thought that was a good inject. Surprised me. Nothing's really coming to mind. Well, it's not research, but Maya Cleave, who was our editor, who's been the editor on all these novels, she keeps pinging me now, and she sends me news articles saying, Casey, we're supposed to write fiction. This one's actually kind of chilling, to be honest. There's a scene that I write early on that happens early on in No Fail, where an Iranian Revolutionary Guard commander is essentially ordered to fire on a crowd of protesters, and there's like this internal struggle with him and this attempt at defiance. I wrote that scene and I gave myself chills, and I was wondering if I'd gone too far, and then I wrote an actual news report, I want to say within a day, of something that had happened that was actually worse than what I wrote. That's actually definitely not the direction that Marisa was probably asking me to go, but that's one time that's sort of where some of this has led, is me turning that back to the other side. To, my joking with Maya is she keeps I'm worried that we have to publish these fast enough so that they're still fiction by the time they come out. Yeah,
going into the dark. Well, now, did you do any, because you're in your description of the book, you talk about old DARPA projects. Do you
hang on. Hold that thought. I'm going to switch this around a little bit. One thing that I have absolutely loved being, I've been early on, I actually delved into Kurdish culture, and that's actually something I left out entirely when I was talking about my research for this. That was one of the things that was important to me right off the bat, is that I wanted to put, obviously, an American guy who, I've never actually been to that area. A lot of my friends have, but even some of those that I know that have been there pretty much stayed on an airbase. But I I have personally never interacted with the Kurdish people, and so I started trying to look out to see if there was maybe some, people of Kurdish heritage in Albuquerque that I could interact with. And I found that there's a kebab house right down the street from me that proclaims itself as Kurdish and Persian food. Love it now. I go there like almost every week if I can. I walked in there early on and very awkwardly introduced myself and said, "Hi, this is going to be a really strange one, but I'm, a local author trying to develop this thing. And I was wondering if maybe I could talk to somebody at some point about Kurdish culture." And I did. I wound up sitting down with a few people, with somebody, and talking through some of the details of Kurdish heritage stories, that one of which, hopefully, if I can get a translation that my friend is working on, we're going to put one of these stories in the next book, Forlorn Hope. And I think that might have been the most surprising part of my research, was how much I enjoyed doing that. I learned about Nowruz, the spring festival. Now I love Kalana bread. And I've mentioned that in my book several times, and their love of black tea, of hot cool. Black tea.
That's really cool. So what made y'all pick the Kurdish culture?
That was entirely Bill's doing. Like, he had written Never Again before I got involved in this project. I think he wanted to essentially write something that was highlighting their existence. And he also had a very specific purpose for how this is going to develop. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest, if personally knowing that purpose, though, the long-term plan, I think he picked the perfect place to center it.
So it's well thought out.
Yeah, it is well thought out. And there is a reason that it was set there. There's several good reasons, but those are largely Bill's to tell.
That's awesome. We were going to circle back to you talked about DARPA earlier. Did you jump into like DARPA research or anything like that to plan?
A little bit. They do publicly release things that they're working on. There is a list of projects that have come and gone that I've sort of pulled in a little bit. So to some extent, that's really, like I said, I have been to the DARPA website to see what their current projects are. I've talked to some friends who basically just released me to that because that's what's publicly releasable. I do have contacts here at Kirtland. DARPA and a whole lot of other labs exist working on a whole lot of different projects. We did get some sort of a few introductions to those when I was active serving here at Kirtland, 2 different assignments. But I'll say most of what I've taken has actually been more just straight internet research, like what is the best of this right now. I'll say in no further, I introduce older versions of combat suits, and I did a whole lot of research for that. And that's actually one of the researches that's one of the pieces that I kept researching, maybe somewhat embarrassingly, like more than I probably needed to. Like, I would look up the suit again to make sure I was getting it right, or to see if I could find any better information on it. So both No Further and Forlorn Hope will feature real life combat suits that have been developed or under development.
Cool. So you're saying you're on a list somewhere?
Probably. Yeah. I probably already was. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Here's a fun comment.
Clint Eastwood. Sorry.
Mr. Webb thinks you sound like Clint. I'm assuming younger Clint.
Younger Clint. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe mid-range Clint.
Yeah, mid-range. All right. I'll take that as a compliment. Yeah. Let's see.
Clint-esque voice.
There was something about a romance. Musky Shaft for those deep.
Musky Shaft for the deep rabbit holes.
I knew you guys wouldn't disappoint.
Lots of deep rabbit holes. Lots of musky shafts.
Yes. Let's see. My wording.
Toss the rabbits down the deep shaft roll. Whatever.
Yes. Maurice. Yes. Thank you for getting the ball rolling. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. We just needed a jumping off point for the smut in the in the comments.
Yep.
Let's see.
And that there's the musky shafts of war.
Yeah, let's see. What is this? He did end with okay. Clint Disc.
The Iranians going to ask themselves one question: do they feel lucky?
I was hoping you would do an impression. I wasn't going to ask you, but okay. And then there was somebody that was asking for romance, but we kind of talked about that earlier. But Melissa wasn't on the show yet. But we brought in a specialist for the
Yeah.
romance in
Mhm.
the book. So
Pinch
that
hitter.
would, yeah. Let's see. Anybody else? Let's see. That's how you guys going down the hole. It's going to be hard to choose.
That's why Cyrus wanted to make sure that it was first.
Yeah. Let's see. From friends. Ouch. Okay. What is this? You're going to give yourself PTSD at this rate. Okay.
There are a few sections I can't read out loud.
Yes. So I think. Are you ready? Do you want to choose? Or you want me to choose?
No, choose what? Oh, we're choosing.
We're going to choose a win. Wait. Let's see. The amount of legit.
I feel like I actually like Maurice's question the best because it was an actual question, but then it led to some good talking and some good commentary.
It did kick off.
Life, but I don't want to give the impression of favoritism. I do appreciate William saying that I sound like Clint Eastwood. Oof.
I don't know. Vaughn's comment made me laugh out loud. So,
which one? Sorry,
the musky shaft.
Musky shaft.
I don't know. There's something about that that tickled me.
She was the one that kicked that off, right? That I said musky twice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was also with Chris's lots of shafts.
Lots of shafts. I don't need much encouragement to jump off the smut.
We know. We know.
I love you guys. Y'all always come strong. Oh, girl Casey's in the house and saying congrats. And let's see. What is this? I know in my heart. Let's see. Yes, Casey, you missed the musket.
In a deep rabbit hole. In lots of deep rabbit holes.
Yes.
Yep. Lots of deep rabbit holes, lots of musky shafts.
Well, do you want to pick or you want me to pick?
I said you were going to pick, and I want to stand by that.
Okay. Well,
honestly, if I was to pick, I'd actually pick your wife. So.
All right. Well, I hate to admit because that means it's more stuff's coming into my house. But Marissa, since you came up with the only legitimate question and you kicked off the rabbit hole smut brigade, we're gonna go ahead and make you the winner. And she's like, nope, wrong one over there. All right. So Marissa, you win, and if you wait. If you're willing to wait, you can get.
We'll give it to you at LibertyCon.
Yes, both authors to sign it. So I'm gonna steal from a podcast that I was watching last night, and kind of give you kudos because they were talking about how their careers got better, and they were talking about how their careers got better once they started hanging out and befriending other authors. And one comment is you got to be somebody that people want to work with, and I think you've done a great job at that, because I don't think you'd have gotten picked for this if people didn't dig working with you and all that. So kudos to you. I wanted to congratulate you on that, and you must be doing something right.
I'm trying.
So for future authors that are watching this right now, and wait, sorry, I got caught up. Yes, nepotism is real. We love it. We use it. Thank you very much. Good night. Especially this group is a very this pretty close knit group. Where
very supportive. That's the biggest thing.
Yes, the fact that you got recommended by a fellow author to be a part of this series, that Chris helped you get select, put you in the forefront for, being a part of this series, speaks a lot about this group, but it also speaks a lot about you, that people are going to go to bat for you for that. So congratulations. Good job. But I feel like it's very important to tell, future authors and everything, is that you got to be somebody, because in the past it wasn't the case. You had a lot of problem children, some backstabbing and stuff like that in the old days, where people these days, again, especially with this group, are rising tide boats, that chestnut, and where
also a different industry. It's evolved so much in the last few decades, and in the trad pub, everybody was fighting for that 1 or 2 slot or whatever. Everybody was pushing to make those connections so that they could get their work pushed through the slush pile. And that's not, that still exists, but there are a lot of different ways to do it now. And that, the community that we've created to sort of support and develop that was created. I'm not sure if I really had much of a part in it, other than pulling in Melissa. That's all I've done. That community that's being created, that we are part of, that does a great job of, like you say, helping each other out, supporting each other. We're not fighting for that one sale to a traditional publisher, where we all know that we can produce something. We're encouraging each other to do so and giving each other the tools that we've learned.
Yeah, because you've got to be talented. You can't suck. So good job. Good job. You don't suck. You're all kidding aside, you're an awesome writer. But at the same time, you got to be lucky. You got to be in the right place, the right time, and you got to put yourself out there, and you got to be somebody that people want to work with. And I think you've accomplished all that. So I'm looking forward to reading this series, and I'm excited to see what's coming next. But before we leave, since we've already given, we're strong with the nepotism here, and we've given away the prize. What can we expect from you in the future, either with this series or other projects?
Well, we've got, like I said, No Further comes out next month. And then Melissa and I are wrapping up Forlorn Hope as we speak. Like, I am writing some of the end scenes right now, and she has already gone back to start scrubbing through the entire novel. So No Further is scheduled, I believe, for June 29th. And then I believe No Further is Forlorn Hope is definitely in August. I've also got a story in the Bureau 42 Four Horsemen anthology coming out, and then I've got a story with I'm not actually sure how I'm supposed to pronounce it, but the Ashes of Anticia, probably. Anticia. Yeah,
we'll go with that until we're correct.
All right, Girl Casey's new universe. So that's awesome, and you should be reading that too. Okay. But I will have a short story in her anthology when that becomes a thing. Anticia, that's how I said it the first time. So all right, cool.
And Yvonne, even though she lost, she's still coming in with the hot comments here. If you can't be an athlete, be an athletic supporter.
It's the only way to handle those musky shafts.
Good callback. All right. Let's see. Melissa, editing right now, and I'm so dang proud of what we've written. Awesome.
I'm going to be honest, 2/3 of that was what Melissa had written, but I was also doing all the research, most of the research. So she got more of the words. She wins the words award.
She does words good.
So, yeah, when there's lots of good words, that was definitely her. When it's choppy and confusing, it was probably me.
And one last time, where can people catch you in the wild coming up?
Like we said, I'm going to be at LibertyCon. I'll have a book signing here in Albuquerque at the Albuquerque Barnes & Noble at the Coronado Mall, if anybody lives here. But, look up my Facebook. I'll be posting about it, and you can find me there, and I'll sign some books for you, and we can chat. Since you might be the only one there, you never know if you show up. I'll be at DragonCon this year. I'm actually going to do a tiny little thing called Moriarty MiniCon in Moriarty, about 45 minutes on the other side of the mountains on the 2nd of August. And otherwise, you can find me. I'll be on HP Hollow's podcast tomorrow night. I'm going to be on Blasters and Blades and Blasters. Getting the order wrong, but I'm going to be on that podcast in the middle of June to hype up hopefully both of these. I think it's actually splitting the difference between these two releases, between No Fail and No Further. And then, you can just find me online, as I said, Facebook, Instagram, my website, caseymoores.net, and Amazon as Casey Moores. Just don't forget the S.
Do you do a newsletter?
Alrighty.
Do you have a newsletter that people can sign up for?
I do have a newsletter. You can get one of my free short stories. I've got a few of them out there, and you can sign up for my newsletter and stay appraised of what I'm doing. I also put out little snippets of special operations and history and things like that from time to time. So we'll also be getting some of that.
And I say this every time, people, if you want to support your favorite authors, like, rate, and review. It really helps them out. So if you like the book, buy the book and rate it and review it, because it goes a long way in supporting your authors and helping that algorithm. Let's see, we got some comments here. I'm guessing she's talking about Melissa is constantly telling me how awesome it is to write with you.
It's gonna be over soon. And we'll find someone else. Like I said, the series will continue, and we'll see. The character that we were specifically supposed to be writing together, that character will continue. So
awesome.
Spoiler: she lives. Sorry.
They want pictures from the signing. So if you could post those, I'm guessing on the website or Facebook.
All right. Probably just me sitting there at the table, but
yeah. Let's see. Oh yes, good reminder. If you like what you heard here, or even if you don't, I don't care. Like and subscribe, please. Please do.
Definitely.
Yes, either way. So, yep, go and support support this book. Support Casey. Go buy the book. The link to the first book and the second book are in the description of this video. So go check it out there. You can find it on chriskennedypublishing.com. You can also buy cool shirts like this there. So go check out the website. You can find this book and many other great books there and all your literary needs. Casey, before we go, any last words?
I think we covered everything.
Awesome. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure talking to you. Anytime you want to come back, you're always welcome, of course. And I might see you at LibertyCon.
All right. I might talk to you sometime in the vicinity of LibertyCon about doing another one of these for No Further and maybe Forlorn Hope later on. We'll see.
I'll come back anytime.
All right.
And maybe bring a friend with you.
I'll definitely bring a friend to Forlorn Hope, probably.
All right. With that, everyone, I wish you all a great night, a great holiday weekend. Stay safe, and we'll catch you next time.